All right, welcome to the webinar. My name is Eric Anderton, and we're about 1 minute shy of 3 o'clock Pacific time, so we're going to get started here. Do me a favor real quick, if you could just indicate to me that you can see my screen and hear my voice, simply by raising your hand, or you can chat something into the chat box here, or in some way indicate to me that you can see my screen and hear my voice. Okay, excellent. All righty. Well, we're going to get started today, and today I'm going to be sharing with you one of my favorite topics on why elite athletes achieve high performance, what you can do to imitate them, and how that can transform your business and your life. The lesson that I'm going to be teaching you here today is very straightforward. It's very simple. It's not necessarily easy to apply in your life, but if you can take it and learn it, and then teach it to other people in your organization, it is really going to transform your business and it can transform your life. Welcome to the webinar today. My name is Eric Anderton, and I work with a number of businesses in Northern California, helping them with a very specific focus. I help the CEOs of the companies develop their leadership so they can make more money, so that they can have more fun, and they can reduce their stress. So I don't know if you need to reduce your stress, have more fun, and make more money. But if you do, you are in the right place. And you're in the right place because today we're going to learn about high performance. And high performance is one of the keys to making more money, reducing your stress, and having more fun. So with that in mind, a little bit more about what I do as an advisor to CEOs and to a variety of other folks. And it looks like I'm having a little bit of problem here with my screen. So let me see if I can move it forward here. Let's see. Sometimes you have challenges with your screen here. So I don't know what's going on here actually. Let me see. See here. Okay, so I'm going to pause this real quick. Hang in there, Sean, and other guys on the phone here. I'm just going to pause this real quick and see if I can't click out of the screen here. Let's see here. All right, so I just did that. Thank you for your patience. I'll restart my PowerPoint. Don't you love it when you're doing presentations and things go south? So I'm just going to restart this again. And we'll go right here. All right, so here we are, we're back. That wasn't too bad. So like I said, my name is Eric Anderton. I focus on helping CEOs to make more money, reduce their stress, and have more fun in their business by improving their leadership. Here are some of the companies that I work with in the Northern California area. I personally stick to Northern California pretty much simply because I'm married. I have a wife and 5 kids. The oldest is only 10. The youngest is 1.5 years, so I've got to kind of keep close to home. But I really like this quote here from Larry Wingate. There are no secrets to success. You've got to solve a problem. You've got to add value. You've got to be worth more than you cost. And you have to outwork everyone. So today in this lesson, in this webinar, you're not going to be hearing any secrets of success, any mysteries revealed or anything like that. But you will learn common sense that if you use and apply to your organization, it can have a massive impact. So if you think about what we're going to talk about here today, we're going to talk about achieving high performance. And the 3 things we're going to focus on very specifically is the secret of situational goals, the hindrances to high performance, and how to organize your life for daily high performance. So those are the 3 things you're going to learn as we go through the process here today. At the end of the training, at the end of the webinar, I'm going to tell you how to get some more help if you'd like to do that. And also, I ask you to take this mindset to yourself as you're going through the process here. Number one, you got to drop the mask. If you're in business, if you're living and breathing, if you're a human being, you've got problems, you've got issues, you can always improve. So drop the mask. The second thing you need to do is to ditch the dude. The idea of going on a webinar like this, spending an hour of your time, is to learn new things or to be reinforced with things that you already know, but you're not necessarily using and applying in your organization. So I encourage you to ditch the dude. Ditch any kind of attitude of, whatever. If you hear something that you've heard before, ask yourself, how well am I using and applying this in my organization at the moment? And then the last thing, kill the bear. And what I mean by kill the bear, if you see this slide here, you've got Anthony Hopkins and Alec Baldwin in the movie The Edge. It's a great movie. They're out in the wilderness, and it's basically man versus bear. Either the bear's going to kill them or they're going to kill the bear. And they figure out in the movie, despite their challenges, how to kill the bear. And I want to encourage you in your business. You've got to be able to figure out how to kill the bear. And the one thing from that movie that I always remember is this. What one person can do, another person can do. So as you learn about elite performers, elite athletes today, understand that they're elite because they apply principles in their life that help them to enhance the abilities that they already have. You already have innate abilities within you that can be enhanced by applying some of the principles or all of the principles that I share with you in this workshop. Much of what I'm going to share with you today comes from a book called The Mental Game of Baseball by Harvey Dorfman. He was a guy who worked with baseball players and other athletes for many, many years. And as he was doing that, he developed certain principles that apply not only in baseball and in sports, but also in life. And so a lot of what we're going to share today is based upon Harvey's work. So, quick question to you. What does high performance mean to you? Someone was to ask you, what does high performance mean? How would you respond to that? What does high performance mean to you? So as you're thinking about that, I'd like you to write down maybe a couple of things of what high performance means to you. Ask yourself, is my company performing at a high level? Or are there ways for my company to improve its performance on a regular basis? Okay? So think about this. I want to give you a definition of high performance. High performance is concentrating on the few tasks that, if done with excellence, will really make a difference in the results of your job and in the performance of your company. Concentrating on the few tasks that, if done with excellence, will really make a difference in the results of your job and in the performance of your company. We live in a distracted age, and that's why concentration is so important to high performance. Excellence is another part of high performance. Excellence is only developed over time through repetition and by focusing on what really matters the most. And that's the idea of high performance, because you need to be able to identify what will really make a difference in the results of your job and in the performance of your company. So, I want to play a quick game here, and the game is called Name the Player. This player, this sports player, this sports figure, has 3 World Series appearances to his name. He has a 4-0 lifetime record in the World Series. In the World Series, he has a lifetime ERA of .25, an earned run average of a quarter run every 9 innings. That's incredible. In 2014, he had 1 complete game, he had 1 shutout, he had 1 save, and he was the World Series MVP. Who is this player? As many of you probably already know, Madison Bumgarner. I tell you, I love baseball, and I love high performers in baseball, and Madison Bumgarner is definitely one of those high performers. Now, think about this. In 2014, it was Game 7 of the World Series, and here you have a picture of Madison Bumgarner jogging in from the bullpen to take the mound to pitch in the 5th inning of the Game 7 of the World Series. Just a couple of days earlier in Game 6, he had pitched a complete game shutout. And he was now going to pitch in Game 7 with everything on the line. The winner of this game would win the World Series. So think about this environment that he's entering and the fact that he is expected to perform at an incredibly high level. Now, think something about the environment that he's entering. Notice something about it. He is surrounded by people dressed in blue. These are the fans of the Kansas City Royals, which Madison's team, the San Francisco Giants, were playing in the World Series in 2014. The game was played in Kansas City. And as you can imagine, Madison Bumgarner at this point was surrounded by about 40,000 people dressed in blue who had one intention for him, and that was that he would fail miserably in his attempt to perform at a high level. Think about that pressure situation. One man on top of a piece of dirt, a pile of dirt, a mound of dirt, expected to perform at a high level. And what was he doing in that environment, in that pressure situation? He was focusing on an action. Now let me tell you about actions. Action goals confine your thoughts and direct your focus and leave no room for distractions that are going to interfere with top performance. Athletes are very good at identifying action goals. And the action that he's doing right here is very simple. He is throwing hard strikes. He is throwing hard strikes. And from the moment he stepped on the mound in Game 5 of the 2014 World Series, Game 7 of the 2014 World Series, he focused on that action goal. And it was the discipline of that focus that enabled him to perform at a high level. And he went from the 5th inning all the way to the bottom of the 9th with 2 outs. And here comes this Kansas City baseball player, one of the scraggly bearded dudes, 2 outs, and this guy hits a looping line drive to left center field. In center field that night was a guy named Gregor Blanco, an excellent defensive center fielder. There's this looping line drive, and if you know anything about baseball, you can see, if you recall the game, or if you saw the game, you can see Gregor Blanco hesitating between playing the ball on a bounce and diving to make an incredible catch to end the game. Because with 3 outs, the game would be over. And what he does is he hesitates between those two, and what happens? The ball goes flying right by him. He misses the ball completely, and here we have this guy flying around second base. The ball gets to the wall where there's another defensive outfielder in left field, and he is also very excellent. And you know what he proceeds to do? He proceeds to boot the ball. He kicks the ball away, and at the bottom of the 9th with 2 outs, the Kansas City baseball player gets onto third base. Now, if you're Madison Bumgarner in this role, in this situation, having performed at a high level for a long period of time in a pressure situation, how would you respond to what just happened? Perhaps you'd be a little like Charlie Brown. Now, this is really, really important, because as you think about high performance in your life and in your company, you've got to realize 3 things. Number 1, there are things which you have no control over. Madison Bumgarner, after he pitched the ball, had no control over what happened once that guy hit it, right? He had no control over the fact that Gregor Blanco misplayed the ball or that Juan Perez kicked it. He had no control over those things. So think about in your life the things that you have distress about, or the things that worry you, or the things that bother you in your business or your life that you have no control over. Things like, for instance, the weather. You have no control over the weather. If you're in construction, for instance, you understand how much the weather can affect you, and you have absolutely no control over that. Of all businesses that are faced with weather issues, construction is one of those that are faced with major weather issues, and you have no control over that. So what should you do about the things that you have no control over? You should not concern yourself with those things. Don't concern yourself with those things. Now, there are things that we have complete control over. In life, there's not very many things that we have complete control over, but think about it. What is the one thing that you have complete control over? I'd like to say this. It's you. It's your attitude. It's the way that you respond and react to the situations that you're in. Now, you say, well, sometimes I react, and I react before I think, and it seems impossible to control myself. What elite performers and high-performing athletes are good at doing is learning processes to teach them how to react in pressure situations when things go against them. They understand that they have complete control over themselves, and they concern themselves with those things. Okay? Now, there's another interesting area here, and it's those things that you have some control over. Okay? It looks like I'm having a little more problem with my PowerPoint here, which is a little distressing. So let me see if we can keep going here. Let's see. Okay, let me just do this again. I tell you, so I have no control, or I have some control over my computer. But I definitely have control over my attitude right now, so I'm just going to do the old restart again. And you'll bear with me there, guys. I appreciate your patience. I'm not sure why this is happening. It hasn't happened on this webinar platform before. But I am just going to go here. I'm going to launch this slideshow. And go through the slides. You've seen all those before. And we're going to get to this part now. And we're going to talk about the things. Think about this now. The things that you have some control over. I'd like to suggest this. You have some control over your relationships with other people and over the outcomes of your decisions in your business. Okay? Judgment of success and the things that you have some control over is focused on your actions, not on the outcomes. It's very important. I mean, you think about it in your business. Have you ever executed a task perfectly? Let's say you're in construction and you've done a perfect bid on a job. And you know that the numbers are right. You know that you've done everything possible to win that job, and you still don't get it. The outcome isn't what you wanted, even though all your actions were an execution of excellence. Okay? Think about that for a moment. You must judge your success not necessarily on the wins and the losses, but on your approach and your actions in the circumstances that you're in. And so what you have to learn to do with the things that you have some control over is to internalize the goals you form with respect to those things. So let me tell you more about that. When it comes to achieving high performance, you've got to learn about the secret of situational goals, the hindrances to high performance, and how to organize for daily high performance. And the key thing that I want you to take away from this session here today is the secret of situational goals. Okay? Now, think about this person here. This is Pete Rose. When I ask people what Pete Rose is famous for, most of the time they say gambling. In fact, Pete Rose is the most prolific hitter in the history of baseball. And what he's doing here, you can see very simply what he's doing here. And the one simple task that he focused on, his immediate goal, his constant focus, time after time after time. He made it very simple in order to become an excellent baseball player. And the thing he's focused on here, see the ball, hit the ball. When he gets into the batter's box, his focus is not on winning a game. His focus is not on even reaching base. His focus is very simple. See the ball, hit the ball. And what high performers are very good at doing is breaking the task down that leads to the outcome they're looking for into discrete parts and then working on those parts. So when it comes to high performance, I'd like to break that down into 3 specific areas. Number 1, the mindset. Number 2, the equipment. And then number 3, the swing. Now think about the mindset of Pete Rose or any other elite athlete when they begin to perform at an elite level. What is the critical mindset they need to have? It's very simple. I can do this. They have to have a positive mindset getting into the batter's box. Not only do they need a positive mindset, they need the right equipment. Pete Rose may be the best hitter in the world, physically capable, mentally capable of hitting a baseball, but if he goes in there with a stick as opposed to a baseball bat, he's going to have a tough time hitting a 90-mile-an-hour fastball. And then not only the mindset and the equipment is important, but then the swing, the physical act of swinging the bat is something that he can focus on as well in order to execute his task. Now let me give you an illustration from one of my clients. We use this principle to help them to master a sales process that was essential to the success of their business. And that sales process revolved around a phone call. It revolved around a phone call. And this phone call was the bottleneck in their organization because they chose to use phone calls as a way of contacting prospective clients in order to sell their services. Okay? Now, the one thing that they knew for sure every time they picked up the phone, because that they were able to target the right people who needed their services, they could have the mindset that the person they were going to talk to was someone that they could help. Think about the positive attitude they could have as a result of that, knowing that they could help the person who they were going to talk to. That was the mindset they needed to have. Now, as far as the equipment was concerned, it was a script that we put together that they were going to use when they got on the phone that articulated the benefits of doing business with them in a very compelling way. So we developed that script. They had the mindset that they were contacting the right people. And then the last part of the process for them was the swing. Now, for the swing for them was the delivery of the script. They needed to get onto that phone call as a king talking to a king. In other words, with real command, real confidence, delivering the script with authority. And when you put those three things together, the mindset, the script, and the swing, the mindset that they had the right target, the script that they put together, the equipment of the script, and then the delivery of the script itself, what did it result in? It resulted in more sales. Now, this is just one example of taking a task and breaking that down so that you can perform it at a high level. So let me ask you a question. What is the top outcome that you are expected to achieve in your position? What do you think that is? What is the top outcome you're expected to achieve in your position? Once you've answered that question, you need to ask this. What is the most important task that leads to that outcome? What is the most important task that leads to that outcome? And then the next question is this. In what specific ways can I improve my performance of this task? So, what is the most important outcome? What is the most important task? And in what specific ways can I improve my performance of this task? Going back to the earlier illustration, the most important outcome was to make a sale for my clients. The most important task that led to that most important outcome was the phone call, the initial phone call to the prospective client. The way that they could improve that task was by adopting the mindset that they were targeting the right people, developing the script that enabled them to articulate the benefits that they were going to provide this prospective client, and then delivering that script in an excellent way through their presentation. So the mindset, the script, and the delivery of that script, those were specific ways that they could improve the performance of the most important task, the phone call that led to the most important outcome, which is making a sale. Now, think about this. What are the hindrances to high performance? What are the hindrances to high performance? I believe there are three hindrances to high performance. Number one is a lack of clarity. That's why we went through this whole thing about what's the most important task that leads to the most important outcome. Most people don't spend time thinking about that. So it's a lack of clarity. The second thing is multitasking. Like I said earlier, we live in a distracted age, and most people spend their time multitasking, and as a result of a lack of concentration and a lack of focus, there is not an excellent execution of the most important tasks that lead to the most important outcome. And the third hindrance is a lack of communication, particularly for people who are in leadership roles. They don't communicate to people who report to them that they're focusing on a task of great importance, and they're constantly faced with interruptions as a result of that. So, in order to get clarity, I encourage you to ask this question. And by the way, I'm going to send out this slide deck to everyone who's on the call here today so that you can get all the information that I'm sharing with you. What is my role and what is most important right now. If you want clarity in your business and in your life, ask this question every day. What is my role? And what is most important right now? As you're going through your day and you feel yourself getting distracted or you feel yourself unclear, ask yourself, what is most important right now? What is most important right now? Now, concentration is absolutely essential. And I'd like to say this. Multitasking is ineffective. What you need to learn to do if you're going to perform at a high level is focus on one thing. You think about Madison Bumgarner. He wasn't selling hot dogs between innings, right? He was focused on pitching the whole time. And you may think that's kind of silly, but that's what happens to a lot of people in leadership roles. They focus on one task where they perform at a high level, and then they focus on a task of lesser value, and they spend time on that, but it distracts them from the task that they really should be focusing on. Madison Bumgarner could go into the stands and sell more hot dogs than any of the vendors, but that's not the main task he should be focused on. Between innings, he needs to stay in the dugout, thinking about the next inning and throwing hard strikes. Concentration is important to high performance. Multitasking is ineffective. And like I said, communication is very important. If you're in a leadership role, you need to make sure that you're communicating with those who report to you, that you're focusing on important tasks so they don't interrupt you and take you out of the zone, so to speak. So think about yourself. What do you find most challenging? Is it a lack of clarity? Is it that multitasking that's getting you down and keeping you from high performance? Is it a lack of communication? Which one is the most important for you to focus on? You need to ask that question and make sure that you are concentrating as much as possible on the excellent performance of the most important tasks that lead to the most important outcome. So with that in mind, I want to talk about how to plan and organize for daily high performance. And it's very simple. Number one, you've got to analyze. Number two, you've got to prune. And number three, you've got to block. Every day you should be analyzing the things that you're doing, and you should ask yourself, what of these things, which of these things can I delete? Which of these things can I delegate? Which of these things can I defer for another day? Delete, delegate, defer. Okay? I love delete, by the way. A lot of stuff that you spend your time working on, you probably shouldn't. You should be delegating that or deferring it to another time or delegating it to other people. Okay? So first you have to analyze. Then you have to prune, which is what I've been describing to you, and then you have to block. And I really believe this. If you're going to perform at a high level, you have to get good at identifying the most important tasks that lead to the most important outcomes, and then blocking time to focus on those tasks. And I'll give you a very simple tip as far as that's concerned. If you are in the leadership role in your company, one of your most important outcomes is building a strong team. And one of your most important tasks that leads to that most important outcome is having regular meetings, one-on-one, and as a team with your people to communicate the vision, the values, and the strategic plan of your organization. You have to be blocking time to have those regular meetings. And you may say to me, Eric, I don't have time for meetings. I'm too busy running the business. I want to say this. If you're in a leadership role, one of your main roles and one of your main focuses should be running effective meetings to increase communication. In those meetings, you can do things like motivation, delegation, and holding people accountable. And if you're going to be an effective leader of your company, you must be excellent at those three things: motivation, delegation, and accountability. And so as you get into your day, ask yourself this question: what must I accomplish today to have a high-performing day? Do you ever come to the end of your day and you're thinking, man, I just wasted 8 to 12 hours of my life on stuff that wasn't important? And the reason that happens is because we get distracted, we multitask, and we don't focus on what the most important things are that we must accomplish to have a high-performing day. If you can do this, this can be really helpful. Just identify one thing. If you accomplished one thing today to enable you to have a high-performing day so that you could come to the end of the day, you could be at home, sitting on the couch, before you go to bed, thinking, I had a high-performing day because I focused on the most important thing that I could accomplish during that day. That is an excellent question to ask. And then, this is a key. If you want to have a high-performance culture in your organization, if you want to be a high-performing leader, You must get used to saying no. Say no. Be willing to tell people no to the things that would distract you from performing at a high level. Keep the trivialities away from you. Delegate them to other people and focus on the most important tasks that lead to your most important outcome. So, this is from Harvey Dorfman, by the way. High performers choose to get something out of all situations rather than complain about them. High performers choose to hustle rather than dog it. High performers choose to be prepared rather than just show up. High performers choose to be consistent rather than occasional. High performers choose to be early rather than just on time or late. They want to learn rather than want to explain or excuse. They want to do more rather than just enough or less. They choose to be mentally tough rather than mentally lazy or intimidated. They choose to concentrate on what to do rather than on what may result. You cannot control the result, but you can control the action. They choose to be aggressive rather than passive or submissive. They choose to know their limitations rather than to try to do more than they're capable of. Many CEOs shoot themselves in the foot because they try and do too much instead of deferring, delegating, or deleting. They choose to think about solutions rather than worry about problems. I tell you, don't worry about tomorrow. Tomorrow has enough evil to take care of it. Focus on performing at a high level today. High performers choose to accept adversity as part of the game and of life rather than magnify the adverse conditions and seek sympathy. And they choose to share with others and help others rather than be selfish. And they choose to think and act positively rather than negatively. And so we get to the bottom of the ninth with 2 outs. There's a guy on third base. Madison Bumgarner has a choice. He can freak out, he can get depressed, he can blame other people for his circumstances, or he can choose to focus on the situational goals that will lead to that outcome. And what he chose to do was to throw hard strikes. And I'd like to say this, regardless of the outcome of the game, whether the Giants won or lost that game, whether Madison Bumgarner gave up a World Series losing home run, or whether he struck this guy out, he performed at a high level, and he could go away from that satisfied with his performance. Now, the outcome was a positive one. They did win the World Series. In a situation that was multifaceted with lots of uncertainties, lots of unknowns, many people involved, Madison Bumgarner focused on high performance by identifying the most important task that led to his most important outcome, which was throwing hard strikes in order to get people out, in order to win the game, and he kept focusing on that throughout his performance in Game 7 of the 2014 World Series. That is what high performers do. So now it's time for you to get to work. Okay? Where do you want to go? Let's say we waved a magic wand. In terms of high performance, what areas do you want to focus on that could potentially have an impact on your business in the next 12 months? Okay? Where are you now as far as that high performance is concerned? Have you even identified the goals that you want to achieve? Have you identified the tasks that lead to the most important outcomes? What are the roadblocks that are getting in the way of you achieving that high performance? This is what Patton said. A good plan violently executed today is far better than a perfect plan tomorrow. I encourage you, the first thing you need to do is to identify your most important outcome. Then identify your most important task that leads to the most important outcome, and then go to work brainstorming. In what specific ways can you improve the performance of your most important task that leads to your most important outcome? The end result of that is this. You started a business. Why did you start a business to begin with? Well, most people start a business to make money. And I want to say this, in business, making money is a great thing. Because I don't know about you, but it's tough to get people to give you money, right? Unless you're a robber or something like that. And if you run a legitimate business, you're not a robber. And if you've been in business for a while and people consistently give you money, they do that because in a free market economy, you are providing them value. With that money, then what comes? Power. And power is the idea of freedom. Freedom to associate with who you want to associate with. Freedom to do with your time what you want to do with your time. With that power then comes recognition. Think about it in many businesses. I tell you, this is awesome. Particularly, I tell you, I work with a lot of construction guys, and I love it when they can drive down the road with a buddy in their truck, and they can point to a building, and they can say, I built that. I built that. They made a contribution to their community, to the world that they live in through the businesses that they've built. Okay? Not only that, though, but you can also be a great role model in a business. You can build a great company. You can leave a legacy. All of these things are available to you if you focus on high performance. And when it comes to high performance, I'd like to say this. There's an easy way and there's a hard way. The hard way is for you to figure it out for yourself. The easy way is to work with someone to help you to achieve high performance in your leadership, your business, and in your life. And at the beginning of the webinar, I told you I was going to tell you how to get some help. And if you are interested in further exploring with me how I can help you to perform at a high level by identifying your most important outcome, identifying the most important task that leads to that outcome, and then working with you to put together a plan for improving your performance of that task, then let's talk. Here is a link to a site where you can book in a 10-minute conversation with me. During that 10-minute conversation, we're going to talk about where you are now, where you'd like to go, and the roadblocks that are stopping you getting from where you are now to where you would like to go. And you're going to walk away from that 10-minute conversation with an action plan to help you to focus on high performance and to help you to focus on continuing to build the business of your dreams. Okay? So, I want to thank you for participating in the webinar today. Before I sign off, I'd like to ask if anyone has any questions or any feedback that they'd like to give. Alrighty, so we are going to sign off here. I really appreciate you attending the webinar today. Again, my name is Eric Anderton. If you'd like to book in that 10-minute conversation with me, feel free to do so. I'll be sending everyone who participated in the webinar a copy of this slideshow presentation, and I really appreciate you taking the time. Thanks very much.